Thanks, Cook. I appreciate the introduction. Topic of my talk today is going to be a progress update on the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. The Office of Pharmaceutical Quality was stood up in January of 2015. So the office itself is about is a little more than 2 years old. I've only been with the office for the last 16 months. Dr. Woodcock, who's the head of CDER, my boss, is the one that actually stood up that office, and then I've now continued to move the office forward itself. As Cook had mentioned, the two offices, both the Office of Generic Drugs and the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, need to work hand in hand. As you saw, there are CMC issues that we're trying to work through as we continue to develop the Office of Pharmaceutical and as we move forward to streamline our processes. So as we do that, obviously we need to work collaboratively together to be able to meet the goals of GDUFA. So what I want to do is give you a little bit of an update in terms of the outline that I'm going to be presenting today, reminder of what our mission is, as well as the objectives of the organization itself, just to kind of ground everybody into who and what we are. Since we've only been around for a short period of time, our quality initiatives, obviously we're focusing on quality, it's the mission of the organization itself. Enhancing communication and collaboration, not only collaboration with the Office of Generic Drugs, but we do need to collaborate with other offices, both within and outside of CDER itself. Policy development, operational excellence, some of the IT implementations that we've put together, drug application evaluations, how things are progressing there to be able to evaluate those applications quicker to get it right the first time. As Cook had mentioned, we need to be able to make sure that we streamline those and get it right the first time. And that's been a challenge over the years. Take a look at facility evaluations. Facilities has been one of the areas that applications have had a number of observations associated there that have slowed down the review, the approval of those applications. And then some closing remarks. So in terms of the mission, vision, and our slogan, the mission is a simple one. We want to assure that quality medicines are available to the American public. It's that simple. The vision is we want to be the global benchmark for regulation of pharmaceutical quality. That's what we're aspiring to as an office. And then our slogan is to have one quality voice. I will get into that in a little bit so that you better understand what that one quality voice actually means as it applies to the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. So in terms of our objectives, obviously we want to be able to provide seamless integration of review. So we review the application itself. But not only review, we need to make sure that the inspection piece is integrated with that. We do surveillance of the industry, so it gives us a better idea of the state of quality of the pharmaceutical industry. It's really the impetus behind the surveillance organization within OPQ. We also do research across product life cycles. We do our own internal research. Why do we do that? The reason why we do that is to be able to come up with better policies, more robust policies, so that when we develop those things, you don't come back to us and say, geez, you guys are developing this stuff in a vacuum, you really have no experience there. Trust me, we spend an awful lot of time, energy, and resources to be able to do our own internal research as well to make sure that the policies we put forth are as robust as possible. And then finally, we also want to be able to do that we take science and put science in with risk-based assessments that we do, but everything needs to be grounded in science. These are not done capriciously. It's not done because we want to make your lives more difficult. It needs to be science-based. It needs to be risk-based assessments that we do. We cannot review all applications in their entirety. The volume is tremendous that comes in on a yearly basis, especially within the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. Not only are we doing generics, but we have to do innovator products, both NDAs and BLAs. So as you can imagine, the volume of that work becomes tremendous. We also want to transform product quality oversight from a qualitative to a quantitative. So this is where we want to be able to quantitate what it is that we're doing, expertise-based assessment. And I'll get a little bit into that further along in the presentation itself. And we want to encourage development and adoption of emerging pharmaceutical technologies. What we see, and this is known within the industry, the technology, the manufacturing technology we utilize is old, it's antiquated. That causes a lot of the quality issues that we face on a day-to-day basis. So we're trying to encourage the industry to move forward and look at new technologies, innovative, emerging technologies that will help address a lot of those quality issues that we face and that we see both in the inspection and as we review the applications themselves. So again, there is a strong reason or impetus to drive towards newer innovative technology. So in terms of the organization itself, the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, the way we're situated is that we have 5 responsibilities or 5 areas that we focus on. The first is the review of the application itself. The next one is the inspection. We are not the inspectorate ORA. The Office of Regulatory Affairs is the organization that does the inspection. However, we do go with them probably more often than not on those inspections. So what we're trying to do is that since we have the knowledge of the application, they are the experts in the inspectional area. You put the 2 of those together and guess what? It makes a great team to be able to review the process, the facility, the GMP status of that site, along with the person that's doing the review of the application itself. So therefore, it's real-time exchange between our office and the inspectorate's office. We also do surveillance, again, to see what the quality or the state of quality is within the pharmaceutical industry, so we want to know what that is. We're looking for trends. Are there quality trends? What are the new issues that are coming up? So that when we come to conferences like this, when we present and discuss these things, we can then get the industry to start focusing on those areas, address hopefully those areas before they become major deficiencies in applications and become a major problem within the industry. Some things that, we want to prevent these things from happening because we don't want to have drug shortages. We want to be able to prevent that. So we want to have a continuous, strong drug supply for the pharmaceutical, through the pharmaceutical industry before the American public as well. And then we want to streamline processes that assess and monitor drug quality, as I mentioned. So you'll see the organization set up here. I don't want to spend much time on here. Really where I want to draw your attention is just this line here. These are our review offices. So we have the Office of Biotech Products. They review the BLAs. The Office of New Drugs. They're the ones that do NDAs, as you can imagine. Office of Lifecycle Drug Product, OLDP. They will do the review of your ANDAs. That's the office that is supporting the generics application review. And then we have also the Office of Process and Facility. That is a review office as well, because they are reviewing the process that you use to manufacture the product, as well as the facility itself. What's the state of your manufacturing facility? So those groups there then constitute the review offices that we have. So some of our quality initiatives, as I mentioned, emergent technology is an area that we're strongly focusing on and driving. We've set up a team that's called the Emerging Technology Team. In the FDA, there's a ton of acronyms, so everything has its own acronym. So we call this, obviously, for lack of a better acronym, the ETT. Supports industry development and implementation of innovative approaches in pharmaceutical design and manufacturing. We need to do both of those. So we're trying to encourage the industry to move forward with new technologies. We have a draft guidance that's been published, which tells you how to interact with that group if your company has an innovative technology. There's certain criteria that we need to look at when industry comes in or when a sponsor comes in and says they have an innovative technology. If you're just changing the speed of a tablet press, let's say, that's not an innovative technology. All right, so there are certain criteria that's defined, that helps us define innovative technology, and then based on that, we would then accept that program into the ETT, work with the organization then. What do we do with the organization? They come in, they tell us about the new technology. We learn about the new technology, and in return, what we do is to be able to help you understand where we may look during inspection, what are some of the areas that you need to focus on as you put your application together, as you take that technology and drive it within your organization. So we work collaboratively so that when you actually submit that application, we, the FDA, are familiar with the technology, and you already have input from us in terms of what we're going to be looking at, the questions we may have to hopefully drive this new technology quicker. This has been an extremely successful program for the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. And I'll get into some of the things that we've done around that as well. Concept of operations. This is just a term that we tend to use. We call it a ConOps. It's a concept, so it's a concept. We think about this of operations. How are we going to operate? And what we're looking at is how are we going to operate to do facility evaluations. Because as I mentioned, we don't work in a vacuum. Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, when we do inspections, also works with ORA, which is the Office of Regulatory Affairs. Most of you, if not all of you, know that that's the inspectorate. We are not. Office of Pharmaceutical Quality is not the inspectorate. However, we work with them. We need to collaborate with them to be able to evaluate the facility. So we work with them as well as working with our Office of Compliance. The officer is called OC, the Office of Compliance. So we work with those three groups. So the three groups work together, OPQ, OC, and ORA. So I'll test you on your acronyms later. All three of those come together, and what does that create? That creates the one quality voice. So the three groups together, come together, work together, and through that we become that one quality voice. That's how we define that. So we're also working on the new inspection protocol project. We affectionately call this NIP, NIPP. This provides inspectional assessment to support tracking and improvement of performance across pharmaceutical manufacturers and products. So what we're doing here is we're trying to standardize through a series of templates, working with ORA, the Office of Regulatory Affairs, standardize their inspection when they go into a facility. So this way you don't get that variability every time a different inspector comes in. Certain inspectors may focus on certain areas. And the feedback we've gotten is, well, geez, Mike, why is this inspector focusing on this area of quality? Another inspector comes in, they look at a completely different area. There's no consistency there. There's little consistency across the inspectorate. So what we're trying to do is to standardize how those inspections are done. We've put in place what we call intellectual questionnaires. So they exist to help guide the inspector and the inspectorate to be able to standardize their inspections as they go from facility to facility, which hopefully makes it better for the industry, for the sponsor, to understand where we're focusing, what we're going to do to better prepare for the inspections. Better prepared for the inspections, hopefully the inspection goes well, and the inspections won't hold up the applications or approval of those applications. As I mentioned before, and as Cook had mentioned as well, the facilities piece seems to be one of the pinch points in terms of getting these applications approved. So the better you, as the industry, as the sponsor of the application, understands what we're looking for in those applications, the easier, better, more efficiently we can do those inspections and hopefully get approval of those sites and then eventually get approval of your application. So that's really the intent of this whole process, this whole effort. I just want to point out again that in 2016 we've collaborated with ORA and OC, again, Office of Regulatory Affairs, the Inspectorate, and OC, Office of Compliance, to put that ConOps together. We are just about finished, hopefully soon, in terms of putting that ConOps together, because as most of you know, ORA, the Office of Regulatory Affairs, will be standing up their new organization come May 15th. So what we want to do is to have the ConOps in place so that when they stand themselves up, they can incorporate this ConOps into how they do their day-to-day job. So that's why we're trying to integrate all of this at the same time. Quality assessment or drug quality assessment enhancement, developing tools to support and perform product, process, facility, and benefit risk assessments. As I mentioned before, we cannot spend time going through every single page of every single application that comes in. What we have to do is determine where the risk is in that application and focus on that. Do the assessment where the risks are, and then take a look at you can take a look at the rest of the application, but focus on where the areas of high risk are, and then see if the sponsor actually has addressed those issues. So that's what we're looking for now. So in 2016, we developed a dashboard for drug product quality for solid oral dosage forms, immediate release, as a formalized risk mitigation platform. So we're trying to standardize, again, how we look at solid oral dosage forms, immediate release, how we review those, what are the quality issues associated with that, and focus on those high-risk areas. So again, we're not going to focus on every single area that it takes to make a solid oral dosage form. And we want to develop a risk-based assessment framework that balances clinical content along with the potential product quality issues. So what you hear about is clinical relevance in terms of specifications. What does that actually mean, Mike? Well, what we want to do is that when you look at a product, what are the quality attributes, critical quality attributes, your CQAs? You talk about quality by design. You got critical quality attributes. What are those critical quality attributes that are relevant to how the product will perform clinically? So when you look at a solid oral immediate release dosage form, what's the one area that you will most likely look at? The solution. You want to make sure the thing dissolves, it disintegrates, it dissolves, does it get into the patient's bloodstream? So that's one of the areas we're going to focus on. So you see, we want to start trying to tie the things together that are clinically relevant as opposed to just looking at all specifications. In terms of enhancing collaboration, communication, you'll see a list up here. I'm not going to read through this unless anybody wants me to, but I strongly doubt that. You can see all the organizations that we engage with. So we engage with our own organization internally across centers, but not only that, we need to engage with the outside industry, and we typically do that through a number of these industry or trade associations. Hence one of the reasons why we're here today, to better educate, to get feedback as well from the industry at large. So all of you work, I'm assuming most, if not all of you work in the generics industry. That's why we want to have these discussions. One of my things that I try to do when I interact with these organizations, and some do it better than others, is to try to stress to them that it needs to be a discussion. When you come and talk to me, when you come to talk to my office, the folks in that office, I want to have a discussion. I don't want to sit here arguing back and forth. It's unproductive. It's not going to be just one group telling us something or we're telling a sponsor something. It needs to be a dialogue. That's how I want to build this office. That's how I've been building. It's the foundation that I've laid to work with other organizations both within and outside of the FDA. Is it easy? Has it been successful? Hasn't been easy, and it's been somewhat successful. It takes trust. So until that trust is developed and we can trust each other more strongly than we do now, by coming to these meetings, by really sharing with you what it is we do and how we do it, I hope to continue to build that trust so we can have that dialogue. It's one of the premises that's made the emerging technology team successful, is to have that dialogue, and it's worked very, very well. Industry innovators typically are the ones that have come in to talk to us, and they've been extremely pleased with that collaborative discussion. So you need to say what you mean what you say, and that's really what we're trying to strive for. In terms of international collaboration initiatives, things that we've put in place, that the office has done, we want to enhance mutual understanding of quality assessment practices and policies within global regulatory or with global regulatory agencies. So what we've done is we've put together teams that have gone out to these other global regulatory agencies. We've worked with the ones that are shown here, the Australia Therapeutics Goods Administration. So hopefully we've got some folks on the phone that are from the Australia area. The Japanese PMDA, EMA, Health Canada. We've actually gone there. We've sent our reviewers to go and actually sit with their colleagues in these other regulatory agencies. Why do we do that? We're looking for best practices. We want to see if they do something that's better than what we do, that's maybe more efficient, that can help us be a better organization. As we start to try to harmonize through the international, through ICH, we want to be able to have those discussions so that we can harmonize, standardize how we do inspections, how we look at quality across the world on a global level. So we actually go there, we have the discussions. These have been great discussions. Individuals come back, we debrief, and we figure, is there anything we can internalize, anything we could add or change within our own organizations to do a better job of what we do? And hopefully we try to start looking at ways to harmonize that across these agencies. In terms of policy development, our focus includes conducting, as I mentioned before, and I can't stress this enough, it's risk-based evaluations on clinically relevant product attributes. There needs to be some benefit to the patient in terms of what we're doing and how we actually do that work. So being patient-centric and linking quality to patient outcomes, as I mentioned before. And again, it will change based on the dosage form. So being patient-centric is more than just clinically relevant specs. Specs are a subset of clinical relevance, as I mentioned before, but they need to be tied back to the patient, because the reason why we're in this business is to bring therapeutics to those patients. And then it involves multidisciplinary approach for the teams to assess the totality of evidence in a risk-based profile. So that's what we're looking for. It's all risk-based, but it needs to be science-based as well. Clinical relevance and specifications, one size does not fit all. That's not the approach we're taking. We need to consider the context of use, the regulatory framework, the type of dosage form we have, and the extent of product and process knowledge that exists at that time. So we need to pull all that together. So these specifications are not done capriciously. Emphasis on specifications that focus on clinical relevance rather than on process capability. Don't get me wrong, because I know some of you are going to run back and say, Mike said, we don't have to worry about specifications, all I got to worry about is what's clinically relevant. No, you still have to characterize and understand, monitor, control your process as well. But as you set specifications, what we're hoping for and what we need to see, or what we want to see, is how are you tying that to the ultimate product for the use by the patient itself. And we also want to make sure that the drug product will perform as indicated in the label. That's extremely important for obvious reasons. If you're saying the product works in a certain way, you need to make sure that it actually does that. So in terms of sponsors should pursue development of a patient-focused, risk-based overall control strategy, but as you see in there, you've got CQAs, critical quality attributes. It's part of your quality by design framework, so you want to make sure you understand what are the critical quality attributes. Identification, risk assessment, and then acceptance criteria around those CQAs. You need to characterize and understand your process, and then you pull that all together and you come out with your control strategy. You have to control what it is you're doing, what it is you're making. And you want to have process understanding and stability data, so you need some way to prove that, show that. This is not new. Risk of the attribute to impact clinical performance and analytical capabilities. So all of that comes together. So you still need to do that work, but in a bit of a different framework and a bit of a different mindset as you begin to look at developing that process. So in 2016, in terms of our quality policy, we issued 12 guidance that reflects the agency's current thinking. These are not static. We can change these, we can update these, amend these as we need to, as we learn. As I keep telling people, thinking, learning is an ongoing process. So as we learn more, as we understand more, by having conversations with the industry, we can update these. So these are not static documents. We published 5 maps. These are the manuals around policies and procedures. It's what we call them, but that's basically what they are. And then we responded to 568 external inquiries. You know what kind of volume that is to answer those questions? And trust me, some of these questions are extremely complex questions. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to be able to do that. So I just want to give you an idea in terms of the volume of work that comes through this office and the things that we're asked to do. These are the guidances that were published in 2016. It's not all of them, but it is most of them. Just wanted to give you an understanding of some of the things that we get involved in and some of the guidances that we've published over the year. In terms of excellence in IT implementation, what we do now, one of the things I put in place when I got here is something I learned a long time ago being in the industry, are key performance indicators. When I came into the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, let's just say there was a limited understanding of what key performance indicators were, let alone trying to establish those. As we began to learn and understand what they were, we were able then to establish what those performance indicators were, because my leadership team, want to understand how are we performing as an organization. We've got to be self-critical as well. So we put these KPIs in place. It assisted us with the understanding of workload and flow within OPQ. So now I'm beginning, and my leadership team is beginning to understand where the pinch points are within OPQ. Once we understand that, then we can better address that so we can have more efficient turnarounds of doing the work that we need to do on a daily basis. It also provided a more comprehensive view of the performance portfolio across the office. So obviously in people's performance plans, in individuals' mid-year and year-end performance, these things are brought up. And how they perform now, we can measure it, and these are what the leadership team and their organization, their staffs, are held accountable to. So it serves as a complete, as a complement to measures used in reporting of our User Fee Act. Because the industry looks for us, and they want to know there's certain metrics that we have to meet, certain things we have to deliver. Cook mentioned some of those. There's other ones that we impose upon ourselves as well to make sure that we're able to meet on those commitments. You're paying us money. The industry pays us money through GDUFA. We've got PDUFA and BSUFA as well for the other programs, but there are measurements that we have to meet so that they see our performance and then we're held to that performance. So it's no different than what you see in the industry as well. We prepare monthly reports as well as an annual report. Cook mentioned hers. We just launched or published our first annual report for the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. Proud of that. It takes a lot of time and effort to put that together, but it shows the things we're good at and the things we're not so good at. So we need to be critical about ourselves as well. And then we continually go under improvement using those measures going forward. Drug Master File was an IT implementation we put in place. We had a working group put in place, and we need to streamline the review of our DMFs, the Drug Master Files. We were having issues there. It was taking too long, and it was becoming a pinch point for us. The only way we knew that is when we started measuring KPIs. As soon as we realized that, we then started putting things in place to streamline that. Are we there yet? No, but we're pretty close to being where we want to be. So this has been extremely helpful. And then successfully incorporated the DMF review tools into our platform. Platform is our huge database. That's what it's called, the platform. So we put those tools in there to be able to streamline the review of those DMFs. Drug applications, we have an integrated quality assessment. I've talked about this in previous presentations I've given, as well as to the SBIA one last year. We have an integrated quality assessment. So what we do is we bring together an integrated team. What's the integrated team, Mike? Well, the integrated team are the offices that are involved in the review process. It doesn't necessarily need to be OPQ. You bring all those people together at the same time in the same place, and you do the review all together. Sounds simple, but it was probably one of the most difficult things we've had to bring together because folks just did not understand the concept and didn't buy into it initially. Now that they have, and we've had success with that, this is now something that's hopefully going to become a standard, and we continue to roll it out more broadly within the office. The reviews, here's the UFA numbers that we had. Cook had showed you the numbers for PDUFA, because I want to show you from the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality, we're not only involved in generics, we've got other applications we need to review. So if you take a look, you've got your PDUFA, 96, 97%, PSUFA, or both 100%, and GDUFA, 98, 100%. What does this tell you? It tells you that we're meeting, not only meeting, but exceeding what's been put in those UFAs, which is great. It's nice to be able to see that and all that, but you know what? We're not going to sit back and say, oh, great, we're meeting it, now I can go home and kick back and relax. We need to go through continuous improvement. As Cook had mentioned, the timelines and the metrics are becoming tighter and harder to meet. So in order to be able to do that, we need to go through a continuous process of improvement within ourselves as well. So we need to be ever critical of how and the way we do work. Just want to give you an idea in terms of how some of this stuff breaks out. For NDAs, which is the pie chart on the left, as you can see, 48 out of the total is predominantly, so the predominant, a little more than half is around breakthrough therapies. So that's what we're focusing on. They have expedited time frames. So we need to make sure that we're meeting those time frames because we're giving you, or the industry, a breakthrough designation. You take a look at the one on the right, those are your BLAs. BLAs, obviously, there's not as large a volume as there are with the NDAs. And you can see in there that, there's a small number that's there. The bulk of that is around new molecular entities, or NMEs. Around GDUFA, I wanted to specifically highlight this so you have an understanding in terms of the volume of work that goes through the office. And this is only the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. It does not include any other office outside of that. Control correspondence are about 260. DMF completeness assessments that are finalized are close to 700. You take a look at the CMC supplements that are approved, almost 3,000 of those go through the office. And we're held to certain timing around those. And we've met and or exceeded those goals. Generic drug approvals, 630 that went through the office that got approved. There's other reasons why some of the other products didn't get approved right away, but nonetheless, just to give you an idea of the volume that goes through the office. Facility evaluation, we work closely, as I mentioned before, with OC, the Office of Compliance, and the Office of Regulatory Affairs, ORA, again, being the inspectorate. Hate to keep repeating that, but I just want to make sure everybody understands what that is. For the One Quality Voice, these offices collectively participate in pre-approval. We've got surveillance inspections. You've got for-cause and post-approval. So there's 4 inspection types that we're involved with, collaborating with OC and ORA. Each type of inspection includes 3 potential aspects. You've got to plan the strategy. You then have to conduct the inspection itself. And then we need to report out and communicate those findings, not only internally, back to the sponsor or the third party that's actually manufacturing that product. This is where we see holdup in terms of the applications. Pre-approval inspections, I think everybody knows basically what that is. Pre-approval inspections are the inspections that are needed for marketing applications for NDAs. So that's it's specific to that product that's within that application. Surveillance, these are your system-based inspections. GMP inspections, for a simpler term. And then you have post-approval, which again is linked to a specific product, but that comes up after the product is approved, hence the reason post-approval. So facility inspections performed. The one in A is your pre-approval inspection. On the pie chart, you can see it's roughly half and half, but it's a little more heavily towards foreign inspections. Take a look at B, which is your post-approval inspections. Good chunk of that is predominantly foreign inspections. Beginning to see a trend here. And then C, site surveillance is about an equal split, which is what we were looking for between foreign and domestic inspection. So working together is the only way. When I say working together, it's not only within the FDA, it's working together, industry and FDA, or any regulatory agency. It's the only way to achieve the vision of having a maximally efficient, agile, flexible, key point there, flexible pharmaceutical manufacturing sector that reliably, again, another key word, produces high-quality drugs without extensive regulatory oversight. If we can decrease the amount of regulatory oversight, that would be great. We'd be able to focus on other things that we need to do that are a priority within the office as well. So we don't want to always be in your facilities. We don't always want to be having those ongoing discussions with the sponsor. That's our ultimate vision, ultimate goal, not only for OPQ, but for CDER as a whole as well. So with that being said, I think that should be it. Well, with that being said, that really brings my presentation to conclusion. So I thank you for your time, and I want to thank SBIA for also giving me the opportunity, inviting me to come and present on the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality. Enjoy the rest of the 2 days. It's going to be a great